The number one question that I get from you guys is, Saad, how do I actually find signals? Like, you understand the model, you get supply and demand, you know the pricing structure, but when it comes to actually finding the opportunities, it gets overwhelming. So let me show you exactly how I do it. This is how I find signals. I'm gonna be picking funding today. No fluff, no gatekeeping. And look, I'm not gonna, just sit here and tell you to spend 6 hours a day scrolling LinkedIn or like Twitter hoping you spot something. That's not a system, that's a job. And to be fair, a boring one. So the whole point of being a connector is leverage. So why would your signal finding process be manual labor? It shouldn't. So here's exactly how I do it. So for funding signals, I set up funding alert for Series A, Series B, raised funding round, plus the industry that I'm watching, whether it's biotech, fintech, logistics, whatever. So this system runs on autopilot, getting me companies that just got money. So these companies need to deploy that capital. They're hiring, they're buying software, they're looking for partners, they're looking for you. Okay. You can also use PitchBook if you got access, or even just like Twitter, because VCs love to announce their deals. You want to follow like 20, 30 VCs in your space, and your feed becomes like a printing machine. If you're wondering how to do it, it's super simple. Just create like a Twitter developer account, apply at developertwitter.com, get an API key, create a VC list to monitor every 2 hours. You query, for example, like raised, or maybe like funding, or like Series A, Series B, or even like announcing or excited to announce, and you get those tweets. Feed it to AI to structure, and you're done. But let me walk you through this funding alert system, because it's extremely high ROI, and it just literally prints me money every single day. I believe it brought me like 50K in the last 3 weeks, because it gives me everything, like the funding amounts, the CEO, the industry, all automatically, and it literally creates opportunities out of thin air. This is literally what I mean by like leverage. You're not working harder. You're building systems that work for you, and it cost me maybe $100. $100 a month to run all this. And let me show you like the ROI on that, because every month it scans over 1,200 articles and it finds 300 to 500 funding announcements. And after filtering, I'm left with like, 250, maybe 300 companies. And out of those, 200 have the CEO, contact info, email, LinkedIn, everything. That's 200 qualified signals every single month on autopilot while I sleep, while I'm sipping my latte and eating like a chocolate chip cookie. But let me just walk you through it. Okay. So, I have here the first, module in make.com, which is basically an RSS feed. Okay. So I'm simply just querying Crunchbase. Okay. And use Crunchbase. And I'm simply just structuring using AI. Okay. You see this? So you must return the raw JSON, etc. Analyze the article, extract funding information only. If it's about a specific company raising money, I'm feeding the title and also description of the article. Okay. And I'm literally like just querying this every 15 minutes. And at the end, I'm actually routing the message to the exact person, right? I'm actually going to do it now. So I have like an email finder here, and I have like an Airtable where I basically dump everything. This is like where I track companies. For example, I have open evidence funding. So they just raised $200 million after Series B, boosting valuation to $6 million. Insane. So I'm simply just tracking the companies here, okay? And I'm basically generating an intro at the end, okay? Which is like an intro message. If you're wondering like what is hit Apollo, grab details, I'm using Apollo for enrichment, okay? A lot of people don't know that Apollo is actually like also an enrichment platform, not just a database. And they have, a pretty good API. If you go here, this is basically like how you get your API key, and this is like the documentation. Okay. So if I go here, this is documentation. Enrich people's data. So enrich people's data. This is like how you use the API. And here I have Apollo mixed people search, and I'm just feeding in the organization name, which is like the company name, along with like the titles that I want. So let's see. Let's run once. And let's choose where to start. Select the first feed. So this week's biggest funding. For example, let's just, check this one right here. Save, run once. Let's see. Oh. Awesome. So I'm going to add this to my Airtable. Oh, and I just sent an email. I just sent an email to literally a company right now. So this runs like on autopilot, like I said. Um, awesome. So let me check this. So check this out. So I have humans and a funding amount $480 million founded around a seed. Sometimes I don't have the CEO, which is not important because I'm gonna query Apollo. And let's see what I sent just now. Check this out. Content. Hey Danielle, congrats on the $250 million for open evidence. I work with funded health tech companies, usually connecting them with folks who help out around scaling ops, product growth, and talent strategy. Just trying to better understand where teams like yours are focusing on the stage. Let me know, appreciate you. So check out this connector copy. It's super, simple, etc. And it's just, super personalized to them. If I go here, you will notice that if I go to my email account, I just sent this, okay? So sanity check, which is the subject line. Hey, Leah, big congrats on the $18 million for combo. I work with recently funded companies, typically helping them connect with the resources for scaling up, building out teams, and strategic growth. Curious, what are your top 2-3 priorities post-raise? Always trying to get a sense of what leaders like you are focused right now. Let me know. And by the way, I know you're thinking, Saad, do I need, to plug in, for example, my Instantly campaign or like Plus Vibe campaign, which is like cold email software? No, you don't. You just use your own, email inbox, obviously, and make sure it's professional. Like it has your website, etc. Okay, don't send with like a weird domain X, Y, and Z, right? Your actual connector domain, right? So I'm going to leave this for you guys in the description so you can also, print money. And in terms of like the math or like the ROI, let's do the math, okay? Let's do the math on what this turns into. For example, 10 to 20% reply rates, that's 12 to 40 conversations a month. Those conversations will tell you what demand needs. Then you go build the supply side. Now we've got both sides. Now we can make intros, 5 to 10 intros per month. Pitch both sides, AK, and that's even like conservative, not counting the big deals. Okay, so you're looking at like 25 to 200K a month in revenue potential from one system that costs you maybe $100. Okay, let me say that again: $100, like $100, and you have like 200K in terms of like revenue potential as a connector. Okay, and instead of like scraping random companies with no signal, no context, you get to send immediately. Like they raised a funding 5 minutes ago, you're in their inbox before they even like have breakfast. They just raised $20 million. They're in buy mode. Okay. They need to spend money. So they need vendors. They need partners. Okay. They need talent. So you're the solution and you get to be there before even like people scrape. Okay. They have to go scrape Apollo, Crunchbase, all this stuff. You're the first person. And it's extremely cheap because if you try to build this with like other expensive software, because I tried this before, I tested this with like Harmonic.ai, which is like a platform, Crunchbase Pro, $300. You get funding, no automation. You still got to do like the work manually, or like Zoom Info, which is like $1,500 a year, no funding signals, you're still guessing on timing. So this system is like $180, like $108 a month. You get everything: contacts enriched, emails generated, database organized while literally, on a date. Okay. That's not working smarter. It's not even like working. It's just winning. And since you guys are watching this, you should be winning too. Okay. So you want to set up systems. Okay. So you can focus on closing intro deals and scaling the connector business. Okay. Now, if you want to scale this, here's what to do step by step. Okay. So let me just walk you through this quick sheet or like sheet process. You want to run the funding machine for like 1 week. For example, you run the system for like, a week or two. You want to collect at least like 50 to 100 funded companies, analyze the common needs, and you want to have like 20, 30 conversations with these like funding CEOs. They will hop on a call with you actually because you're the first person. A lot of people think like, okay, like the CEO is not going to hop on a call. That's not true. Okay. That's not true at all. Okay. I've had calls with like people making like millions of dollars. And what's interesting is that members like would send me a DM with an SSM. They're like, Saad, I'm having a call with like Biotech CEO. They just raised funding. And I look at the website and they just raised like $20 million. And I'm like, holy shit, that's insane. Imagine being in a room with like these companies, like these CEOs. You get to touch the money, right? You get to be in the right rooms where like $20 million is nothing for them, okay? So have 20, 30 conversations with these funded CEOs, and you want to use this data to recruit 10 to 15 service providers as a connector. Again, which means you get the data from like like what they want, etc. Then you go ahead and get the supply side, okay? And after that, you start making a real connection intros. Okay. For example, you message them, hey, I worked with 50 funded biotech companies, for example. Do you help post raise biotech with X? Now we have the supply side. Now we have the demand side. And that's how real operators operate. You can definitely, run both, which is what I do, and what I teach too, which is basically running both supply and demand at the same time and pitching them both, right? Both access fee and also like a percentage. But you can start with this too, right? It doesn't really matter. You can start with like one side at the beginning. You want to start with like the demand side, collect some information, etc. Analyze the common needs, and then you go for the supply, and now you have like a list of like literally demand companies that really need those suppliers, and essentially you're not going to deliver any service, right? The second issue, you don't deliver shit. You just connect two people. That's literally it. Okay. So that's the funding system, okay? That's how I find signals on autopilot. But here's what I've realized, if I'm being honest with you guys. Even with all this, people still get stuck on the thinking part. Like, okay, cool, I found the company. They just raised $20 million. Now what? Who's the supply side? Now, how do I validate this? Do I even say to them? So I built something really, really cool to remove the bottlenecks. Let me show you guys real quick something, okay? You guys already know I'm obsessed with like removing friction for people. So I shipped like a new feature this week, actually, for SSM. I called it Connector Ask, and it's basically like an AI trained to the connector framework. You can ask, how do I find signals for biotech? What's the supply side for like wealth management? And it gives you actual tactical answers, not generic ChatGPT stuff, real connector plays. Let me just show you here. If I go here, see this little thing right here? So ask connector. For example, I can ask, I want to learn about wealth management as a connector, and what are their ideal clients. So this will save a lot of time, and also me like answering the same questions over and over again. Like, people can just go ahead and just talk to me. It's like having me on a call with like 24 hours, right? So check this out. That's amazing. So wealth management is a fantastic niche for connectors because it's high ticket, relationship driven, and involves recurring revenue streams. Let's map out the key components for demand and supply, and also signals. That's awesome. Demand side, who needs wealth management? Well, wealth management clients are individuals and or entities with significant assets who need to help managing, growing, and protecting their wealth. Ideal clients that demand high net worth individuals. Told you, this is what I always say. So it's like me putting the brain here, okay, my brain, which is going to free up a lot of my time too. So I can actually grow the business, because I want to have like 250K. I think I have one last dance in the arena, to be honest with you guys. I want to hit 250K with my press, which is my connector business, and also want to focus with like a couple members, because I'm trying to like get them to that 50, 100K. Some members are like stuck in like this, I believe like 25K, 27K, and my goal is to get them to like 100K, which is awesome. It could be amazing, right? But let's continue. Examples: entrepreneurs, tech executives, professional athletes, or doctors. Ultra high net worth individuals, people with $10 million in liquid assets. Examples: founders post-exits, family offices, or celebrities. Small business owners of profitable companies looking for tax optimization. Where to find? Sources to identify: Crunchbase, okay. Angelus, yes, that's true. Google News, again, search industry M&A or acquisition or liquidity events. Again, the same thing that I've built, like, you can kind of get the idea of where I built the funding alert, right? So the funding alert, it literally does the same thing in like under the hood. If you go here, I'm literally querying Crunchbase and RSS feed. And by the way, you can do the same thing with news. Yeah, news API, Google. So I have like funding here. Oh yeah, check this out. This is the same thing, because if you go here, check this out. So in total, Muse has raised about 475 million, including 75 million in funding. Last round from Tiger Global, Goldman Sachs, and Kinnevik and Battery. So this is query the same thing, okay? You just copy this URL and then you just paste it here, okay? And everything just runs automatically, which is awesome, okay? Let me go back. In terms of the supply sources, LinkedIn Social Wealth Manager, NAFPA, which is, I've never heard of this. actually. This is an industry database? Oh, interesting. Hmm. This is kind of like this. You guys know this platform? Advisor? If you want to get 15,000 leads for free, just go here. This is constantly updated, by the way. I typically, like, I scrape this all the time. Reports of January 24th is literally new. So you can scrape these, okay? This is like actual investment advisor public disclosure from the US. Private banks, signal, validation checklist. Look for liquidity events, inheritance, or stock payouts. Yeah, you can do this too. If you want to get these signals, you can query this platform. It's called XPlay. So it's like an AI search builder. You can do the same thing here. For example, let's go here. People with liquidity events, inheritance, stock payouts, less than 30 days. Who found 2,000 people. I'm not affiliated with these guys. I jumped on a call with the product manager, but they don't want to give me like a discount for SSM, which sucks, right? If you're watching this, give me the discounts and I'm happy to, to pay, right? Just give me the discounts for SSM so that people can use this. In terms of like decision makers, founders, executives, etc. Next step starts with Crunchbase. Filter for founders acquired companies in the last 60 days. So this will help a ton. For example, explain to me biotech. It's hard. All right. Let me simplify biotech for you. Think of biotech like the intersection of science and business. That's exactly it. It's about using biological processes like DNA to develop products that solve big problems, mostly in healthcare, agriculture. Yeah, here's a breakdown of biotechs with example. What is biotechs? Biotech companies use living organisms or biological systems to create useful products. The main focus is often medicine, but it spans across industries. Think of as a science-driven innovation where business develops new drugs, um, key players in biotech startups, big pharma, yes. Why it's a good connector market. You're gonna notice that everything is like for the connectors, right? Which is, the operators coming in. Biotech companies often need external help because they're focused on science, not hiring or scaling operators. They specialize in talent. They need specialized talent, scientists, clinical managers, etc. They're relying on outside agencies for manufacturing. You can act as a connector between demand biotech companies needing talent, manufacturers, consultants, supplier, recruiters, staffing agencies, or consultants specializing in biotech. Imagine a startup. Example connector play. Imagine a startup just raised $20 million to advance its Alzheimer drug to clinical trials. The demand is they need clinical trial managers and regulatory affairs experts immediately. To supply, you find recruiters who specialize in biotech staffing. You pitch access to these recruiters, charging the startup an access fee plus commission if they hire. Exactly the business model. I'm really freaking happy about this, man. Like I wanna cry. I'm kidding. But yeah, this is amazing. This is actually like this is a good product, right? It's gonna free up a lot of time. But yeah, hopefully you guys found value in this one. I'm gonna leave you this blueprint right here, and I'm also gonna add like I'm gonna include kind of like the endpoints that I'm using. That way, it just saves you time instead of like looking and skimming through the Apollo enrichment or like the Apollo documentation, which is annoying. I'll leave this here along with like this quick sheet. So when you're gonna watch this video, you're gonna see here, for example, like here's the Apollo with like beautifully formatted. But yeah, hopefully you guys found value in this one. Appreciate you watching, and like I always say, get out there, take action. I believe in you, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.